State Farm to Bill Kareem alongside Jalen Rose and Steve Smith. We got complete post-game coverage coming up here on NBA TV. When the players come out, when the coaches come out, we will take you live to the podium. I think Mike Breen said it best in this win. What a difference a game makes. Minnesota looking completely different here.
And it usually starts with your best player. SGA, the MVP, got off to a slow start. Anthony Edwards got off to a terrific start, in particular offensively, where he was very aggressive attacking off the dribble, shooting threes, getting to the rim, playing well defensively. He led the charge, and then everybody else followed.
Sure, I mean, it is. I mean, the one thing I loved about it, he even had assists. He got guys easy shots. He rebounded the basketball. He played with a force on both ends that got contagious to them, and then they started making shots. But this is the way they're going to have to play, and I think just the mindset of them, and it was desperation, but in the playoffs, you got to play with desperation.
All right, let's start with Anthony Edwards here. So, Jalen, like you mentioned, 30 points, 12 of 17 shooting, effective and efficient.
Absolutely. Let's show him how he was getting towards his shots. And when you're a great player, you have the responsibility of being very disciplined because you know that you could take a shot at any time, but it's more important to get your shot. And that's what he did right there. You can see the patience getting to the free throw line. Here, on the possession, Julius Randle starts the offense. Anthony Edwards gets into a one-on-one. And look how he goes around basically the whole team. Watch this, 1, 2, 3, 4. And with the sweet reverse and the layup, that's not settling. And that's for the guy who led the league in three-pointers made. Here you see Rudy Gobert setting the pick up top. And you know he could do that great height on his jump shot. Elevation, knocks it down. Here he's playing off the ball. It's really good when your best player doesn't always need to be ball dominant. Anthony Edwards in this situation, that's just a heat check. And once he's got shots like that going, it's going to be a long night for the opponent.
You know, we talked so much about OKC's defense through the first two games, Smitty. But Minnesota, listen, they can play some defense, and they showed it in this one.
They have. I mean, throughout these last two seasons, they've been a pretty good defensive team. But I thought in those first two games, they were basically lackadaisical. But then in this game, it seemed like their pickup points was huge, their traps, and they were OKC. They were handsy. Here's Rudy Gobert. Okay, big Rudy, getting the basketball to Ant-Man. He drove this one. Probably thought he got fouled on that one. That was a bucket. Next play, as you can see, a great contest. Ball is loose, and there's Ant-Man going through guys to get the basketball and finish. This gets your team going, the fans going, and you need fans to get going. This play I really love. He just ran through Lou Dort. He was the more aggressive. Usually Lou Dort and Caruso has put pressure on him. He put pressure on them defensively. And I love this last one. As you watch the Timberwolves right here, this is a young guy, Terrence Shannon, being able to get down, dig down. He gets the ball, and I'm attack. You're definitely going to have guys like Shannon play a little bit more because of, I think, it's his aggressive mindset. They got to stay playing where they're attacking, up to the ball, touch, and being handsy.
He had 15 points in 13 minutes.
He's that kind of player.
Yeah, he was great in this game. Shai Gilgeous-Alexander on the other side of things, 4 of 13 in this game, 14 points. But, Jalen, what really stands out to me, just 4 free throw attempts in this game.
They played without fouling, and that's what the opponent and the fans of the other team have been asking the refs to do. Allow us to play SGA, the MVP, without fouling. But it's one thing to talk about it. It's another thing to execute it. And they did a really good job of that. And it's very tough to do because that's what great offensive players do, right? They understand how to draw contact to get shots for themselves and or get themselves to the free throw line. But his timing seemed a little bit off. You see him miss a couple of layups that he doesn't normally miss. You saw him jump in the air once or twice and try to pass the basketball when he should have shot the basketball in points that he normally would take a shot. So they did a good job of disrupting him, which we haven't really seen throughout this playoff.
He finished again with 14 points in this game. That's a low for him in the regular season and in the playoffs. But right from the get-go, it just felt like we were talking about OKC just felt off right from the get-go.
Yeah, they did. I mean, they weren't the aggressor. Defensively, usually when they're not shooting it well, they set the tone defensively. I mean, I think they came in and obviously was a little bit hesitant, didn't understand the magnitude of how hard Minnesota was going to play. But, you know, it is home court advantage for OKC. They took care of business. Now Minnesota saying we'll take care of business. We talked about it. It's not the losses, it's how you lost. Right. Let's see where they can go from this mental blowout from OKC.
143-101 the final. Let's hear from Chris Finch, who's now at the podium.
Chris, just what did you see from your group, especially at the start, that set the tone and got you guys rolling the way that you did?
Our defense was good, was on point. Certainly, we're able to kind of get out and play faster than we have been playing through the first 2 games of the series. Get some turnovers and some, emotional momentum plays early on, kind of get us going. So,
what led to the Terrence decision, and just what do you think about the lift that he gave you?
I mean, it was awesome. Came in. I've been wrestling with getting another guy in the rotation. We played Jalen a little bit the other day. I just, a guy who can stretch the floor in transition. He's a downhill player. Got a good body. Physicality. We needed some physicality out there. Just kind of a different type of player than we have in other positions. So, we kind of knew coming into the game that we were going to get to him.
Ant obviously scored a lot in the first, but his defensive tenacity, the way he attacked the glass, just what did you think of the tone he seemed to set for the entire team?
Yeah, I mean, that's what we need him to do, and that's when he does it. It takes us to another level. I thought that's what was really, really big in the first quarter. He got a couple of those steals. He was all over the place. He knew that we needed that type of start from our defense, and he brought it. It was really, really good.
Coach, with the way that Terrence played and the fact that he had big minutes for you, can we see him play a bit more going forward? What could his role look like in Game 4?
Well, you're definitely going to see him more. You got to – first thing is to be good in this league, you got to keep doing what you've already just done. So we just want to see more of the same, but we know either way, whether the shots go in or he scores or doesn't score, he's going to bring energy and competitiveness. That's what we really love about him. So, yeah.
Coach, talk about Nasri getting back strong today.
Yeah, it was good for Nas to see some threes drop for him. I thought he played much more definitively and just confident. And, I thought the only thing that kind of got in his way was a little bit of foul trouble. He's starting to get some momentum. But, he's been so important to us, and we need him. And, I thought he gave us another kind of gear, too, out there. So.
Chris, they came out of halftime, an 11-2 run, and you guys called a timeout and then went 20-4 back. What was the key in that timeout to kind of reground, refocus things?
Just to, welcome to Minnesota. What was the question?
In the spirit of refocusing out of that, what was the key of refocusing out of halftime?
Oh, the timeout. Yeah, I mean, that was just it. It was refocus. We've had second half starts like that before when we've played really well in the first half. I just thought we were a little sloppy with our passing, a little loose with our defense. These guys came back from, 30-plus against Memphis. Just in this playoffs recently, they're an outstanding team. They're not going to quit. So we started giving up threes, which we didn't want to do at that point in time, and then we had an and one. So it was just like a combination of the guys really refocused, came out and not just got back in the game, but grew the lead from beyond what it was at half. So all credit to those guys. So.
Even in the stretches where you played well in the first 2 games, you didn't kind of reach maybe this level where you just kind of thrashed them. Is there something psychologically for this team at this moment in the series that now you can accomplish this against this team?
First of all, shots went in today, and they hadn't gone in games 1 and 2, and that's just the nature of it sometimes. So, we don't feel psychologically disadvantaged when we step out on the floor. I don't know if that answers your question or not. So we just had to kind of keep finding a better game within ourselves. We hadn't really played our best basketball. All credit to them at times for affecting that. Tonight I think we just were able to put it all together and got to do it again. So.
Coach, it seemed like you guys were really aggressive, especially jumping passing lanes, getting deflections, especially early on. Was that a point of emphasis coming into tonight?
Well, we wanted to be the aggressor in everything. Yeah, absolutely. So, guys knew what type of defense we can play. We don't feel that we've been playing it. We felt most of the series we've been on our heels defensively. I think that was a mindset switch that we realized. So guys, got aggressive, and that's what you need to do right now. So.
What did you guys do better and or differently against Gilgeous-Alexander tonight?
You want me to tell you?
He didn't have as good of a game.
I mean, like I said, we just were more aggressive everywhere. I thought we were a little cleaner around him with, didn't foul. Just our competitiveness was at all-time high. Like, he is a phenomenal player, man, and he's not going to have too many nights like this. So we feel fortunate for that, and we'll move on to Monday.
When you lose 2 games in the fashion that you lost the first 2 games, the confidence can be kind of shaken. Did you sense any of that, notice any of that? And if so, kind of to what Chris was saying, is that kind of an emotional boost moving forward?
Yeah, I mean, we have I didn't sense any loss of confidence from our team. I sensed frustration that we hadn't played well. I hadn't shot the ball well, but we were, like I said to you, pre-game, we were happy with the shots that we were able to generate, in particularly game 2. And, I think we had 4 or 5 minute periods where in both games where they do what they do, which is turn you over at a high level and get into you, turn it into quick points at the other end of the floor. And, we were able to avoid that tonight. And that's really kind of what it came down to. So.
Chris,
all right, let's move on to Coach Daigneault after OKC's Game 3 loss.
Mark, the start of this game, did you feel like it was more energy on their part versus your part, or an execution thing, or maybe a combination of the two that just you all didn't get off to the start that you wanted to?
Yeah, certainly a combination. Credit them, first of all. They were ready to play, and they did everything better than us from the jump tonight. So dug ourselves a hole. Thought we tried to drum it up a couple different times, but they did a good job of holding us off as well. So we can learn from it. Obviously not our best punch, but again, tip our hat to them for going and getting the game the way they did.
Mark, you guys have scored almost at will, it feels like, in the paint this series. Why do you think that changed tonight?
I'm not sure. I mean, we'll go back and look at it. It was a combination of things. I thought their defensive pressure and physicality definitely stood out early, and they were definitely throwing the first punch in the game. That had a lot to do with it. Schematically, they were a little different tonight, but not a ton. I just thought they were way more physical than we were forceful on that end of the floor, and they were way more forceful than we were physical on the other end of the floor, and that's a tough combination.
And this ended up being the biggest deficit of your season, but like, you were down 31 in the Memphis series. Obviously, you turned that game around. What felt different about this game that maybe led to the fact that you guys never really, bid into that lead?
I can't hear you. I'm sorry.
Yeah, sorry. I don't know if this mic's
Go ahead,
even working. Yeah. So obviously, in the Memphis series, you go down.
Biggest deficit. I got that.
Right. So I guess, why do you feel like you couldn't bite into this lead today the way you did in that game?
I mean, a combination of how they played and how we played. I mean, I would never discredit the effort that they put forth. I mean, they went and got the game tonight. They were way better than us, obviously, in every facet. Can't isolate it to one thing. They just holistically were much better than we were. And like I said, I thought we tried to drum up some energy at different points in the game, but they obviously were able to hold us off because they really ran through the 48 minutes tonight.
Did you feel any different about the looks they got tonight?
The looks?
Yeah.
I think we generate a lot more of a rhythm in the other games than we did tonight, and I thought that impacted our rhythm stepping into those shots, and so some of that, again, was them. I thought they did a great job offensively and defensively, especially from the jump, and some of that's us, and we need to, obviously address the stuff we can control and be a much better team in Game 4 if we want to give ourselves a better chance than we had tonight.
Mark, were there some signs early in this one that were sort of concerning as far as effort or just intensity matching their physicality, anything like that?
I mean, obviously they threw the first punch, but we've been so good all season at being able to take a punch and bounce back, take a punch and turn the game, amp up our whatever we need. And that wasn't the case as much tonight, but it's not like early, I was overly concerned. It's a 48-minute game, and we've been a team that's typically kept coming, but they just, give them credit. They kept their foot on the gas tonight, and we were just never able to give ourselves any traction in the game.
I think I know the answer to this one, but confident you guys can just put this one behind you.
It's been, who we are generally. We know the ebbs and flows of a playoff series. We've been on the other end of games like this, and they haven't been predictive of the next game either. So we do have to look at it and address the things that went awry for us tonight. But at the same time, it'll be a new game. It'll be 0-0 when Game 4 starts.
Mark, some of the things that you guys typically do to teams with pressure, bumping people off of cuts, getting over screens, not allowing to be screened. Minnesota displays some of those same traits tonight. Were you guys bothered by that a little bit, or how do you kind of counter that a little bit going forward as we go into Game 4?
Yeah, they're a good team, that's played very well for a long time now, and they have a lot of pride. And they probably felt like they left something on the table in terms of how they played in the first two games. And to their credit, they addressed that, and they were ready to go tonight. So like I said, it's a series. Every game's different. Every series is different. You have to grow through the series, and you got to grow through the things you do well, and you got to grow through the adversities as well. And we've got experience doing that, and we have to apply that right now.
Jalen Williams seemed to really unlock his offense these first two games in the series. What did you see differently in this game tonight?
I mean, it's not just him. I think generally they were just much more physical, much sharper, executed better, more forceful on offense. I mean, for the score to be what it was, they needed to be really good in a lot of areas and outplay us in a lot of areas, and that's what they did. So, again, give them credit. We lose a game like that, it's not just one team. They really took it to us, and we're ready to play. We got to learn a lesson from it. They're going to come out and try to replicate that in Game 4.
Why do you think Ant was able to seize control of the game the way he did basically from the opening tip?
Yeah, we just weren't able to bottle him up the way that we have the first couple games. Credit them for freeing him up. Credit him for the energy and the force that he played with. He was really on it early. And again, their force on that end of the floor just was better than our physicality, pressure, things that we typically do well. So we'll look at it. We'll, separate out what was, just pure physicality and energy and what was execution. We'll address it and be a better team Game 4. That's what we have to do.
Mark, you mentioned some of the schematic things. How did it sort of impact you guys offensively with them sort of picking up Shea at a lower point?
Say that one more time.
How they were picking up Shea just lower. They weren't picking up as high.
Yeah, I thought they definitely wound that back a little bit, which is an adjustment that other teams have made. I mean, we're used to him getting picked up high, getting picked up low. We have different attacks for that. They did a good job tonight, overall with their execution of the plan, the physicality in the scoring area, creating a crowd. Certainly things we could have done better to try to loosen that up, but they were the better team on both ends tonight.
Went away from the double big lineup in the second half. Was that just trying to throw a different look at them?
Yeah, just trying to get, a little more fluidity on the floor and loosen them up. It was effective in the first couple minutes. We made a nice run. We got it to 22, which for where we were was way more manageable than we had been in a while in that game. But, just obviously I threw different guys out there tonight. I'm a big believer when the game's going like that, you just give a lot of guys opportunity to give you a spark, and that's what I was trying to do.
It's a similar thing with AJ. Went with him a little early-ish. Did you like what you saw from him tonight?
Yeah, I mean, it's hard to evaluate him. He hasn't played a ton in these playoffs. He obviously was injured for a long time, but he established a good little track record, early in his rookie season. He has utility. There's things he brings to the table. I thought maybe his ball handling could have helped us in that part of the game, but at the same time, it's would be unfair to evaluate him in a 3-minute stretch.
Mark, this is a little silly. It feels arbitrary, but fans like to say that a home team is bound to shoot better in their own gym. Like, I just wonder, is that something you're mindful of? Is that something you have to coach against?
I think generally, players, are going to play more comfortable at home, in terms of all the stuff that puts the wind at your back with energy and effort, confidence, and force. And we knew with them coming home down 0-2 that they were going to bring those things tonight, and they did. And while I thought we were prepared to play and mentally ready, they definitely landed their punches, and we had a really hard time getting into the game. But I don't know how much that's, them at home, but they certainly played better than we did tonight.
Anybody else?
All right, thank you.
Chet, did you feel like the energy or the execution was kind of the difference maker in that opening first quarter and just the difference in this game?
I think the biggest thing is they came out and played with more force than we did. Execution, you couldn't even get execution into the game because they just took us out of our stuff with force. So we gotta equal that force and be better.
Chet, when you say they forced you out of your stuff, like what are some of the small in-game battles you're tracking? Some of the ways they're doing that you want to avoid?
It's not complicated. They just wherever they wanted to go, they got there. They didn't let us be in their way or anything. They did what they wanted to do, and we didn't stop them. So. Yeah. And
so before it, ballooned to 35 and then 40. Like obviously, in the Memphis series, you guys came back from 31. Just what was sort of different about this game?
I'd say they're a really good team. They're in the Western Conference Finals for a reason. They played with more of an edge tonight than we did, and it showed. I'd say that's the difference. It's not like an X's and O's thing or anything complicated. It's pretty simple.
First couple games, you guys made it really tough on Ant to get any kind of a rhythm going. Why do you think he was able to really take control of this one from the opening tip?
I'd just say you got to give him credit as a good player. He's gonna watch the film, make adjustments, and see where the cracks are for him to insert himself in the game. We made it tough on him the first two games, and credit to him and their team and their coaching staff for figuring out ways to make it different for Game 3. It's not anything unexpected. We didn't expect them to just kind of hand us the game or anything, and we have to do the exact same thing they did. We have to go back and watch and see why what they did worked, and then figure out how to counter that.
Okay, let's check in with Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, who's just sitting down.
Shai, what'd you feel just in terms of the force that they were playing with early, and what you all needed to do differently in the opening minutes of this game?
Yeah, we just didn't bring it from an energy and focus standpoint. To sum it up, we just didn't have it. They obviously had it with the sense of urgency, knowing like if they go down 3-0, it's going to be pretty tough. And we just, what it felt like, just eased into the game, and they didn't, and they blitzed us pretty early, and then we were never able to get back because of it. But they just came out with a sense of urgency, and we didn't. And on top of that, when you play a really good team, it looks like that. So we got to come out with a sense of urgency, and then see where the game lays.
Was there a play or a sequence that you saw and thought like, okay, things are probably starting to get out of hand?
We just turned the ball over early. They had offensive rebounds early, like a free throw block out I missed, and then I was offensive rebound. Just energy plays and little plays, like loose balls, stuff like that adds up, especially early in the game. And then they're at home, their crowd's behind it. Then they get comfortable. they're up 15 and they're open and they're making shots, and now it's 22. Like it's all a trickle effect, but it starts with like just playing with energy and being focused, and we didn't have that tonight.
Along similar lines, Chet was just in here saying that Minnesota played with an edge that you guys just didn't match. Why do you think that is that you guys didn't match that edge?
Yeah, I'm not sure. I'm not sure. The same thing kind of happened in the Memphis series. We came out in Memphis and they blitzed us. I'm not sure. I guess both situations we were up 2-0 going into Game 3, and we went on the road and they blitzed us. But we don't try to go out like that, I promise you. But whatever it is, we got to figure out if we want to, reach our ultimate goals. But that's what the days in between are for, to get better.
Shea, we've seen you have, the occasional off shooting night. This felt like it was really tough for you to generate looks. What was different from the first couple games in terms of you being able to get looks and to get any kind of rhythm?
I think it starts with I honestly feel like they were obviously heavy on the shell, like they always are. We got some pretty good looks early in the game from 3, and they didn't fall. And then a big part of it is we were taking the ball out the net for the majority of the game. So they get back and get to set their defense. And I don't care who you are in the NBA, against a good defense, it's hard to score when they're set. And in the past 2 games, it hasn't been that. We've been able to get stops and run and play. And like I said, when you take the ball out of the net every time down, it's tough regardless. So I think that was part of the problem was our defense into our offense.
And with Ant, you guys obviously made it tougher in the first couple games. Mm-hmm. He dominated from the jump tonight. What'd you see from him that allowed him to get in such a groove?
Yeah, he got some early ones, like turnovers, fast breaks. He got some early ones easy. And with good players, you can't let them get comfortable early. It looks like that. So yeah, we got to be ready from the jump. That goes back to the sense of urgency and the focus on the game plan and what he's trying to do out there and what they're trying to do offensively.
Shay, for so much of this season, you guys have been, able to, bump people and get people out of their offense and blitz people. And, to have that same thing done to you tonight, was that startling to you guys, or is it something that you guys just have to figure out how to deal with and go and watch the film, tomorrow and head into Monday?
I wouldn't say it was startling. It just, it happens. You're never going to be perfect in life in a long season. Now you get punched, it's about getting back up. It's about responding, and that's what the next challenge is. We got punched in the mouth today, and next game we're either going to get back up or not, and we'll lose the game. But we have a decision to make for sure.
Kind of a follow-up on that. You guys all year, last 2 years really, have been a team that put your foot on the gas defensively to either expand a lead or get back into games. Why'd you feel like that wasn't working tonight?
They got too comfortable, and they were playing with a desperate mindset, knowing where the series was laying. And then you give good players comfort in their building with their home crowd behind them. It's in a moment like this in the Western Conference Finals, it's hard to turn the water off. So yeah, that's what that was.
Anybody else? Here we go, Mike. Last one.
You talked about punches, throwing the first punch. Mark said the same thing. What goes into feeling like you guys threw the first punch? Because I can't imagine it's as easy as you guys lead and that's the first punch. What makes you feel like you guys really set the tone?
Say again, sorry?
About throwing the first punch.
Uh-huh.
Mark talked about it. You're talking about it. What makes you feel like your team in a game, you guys threw the first punch?
It usually starts with game plan stuff. They obviously have strengths offensively and defensively, and both teams, and vice versa for us as well, and both teams are trying to impose their will on the game. And the team that imposes their will more and earlier usually throws the first punch. So it's the same thing on both sides of the ball. If they're trying to do something offensively and defensively, we take them out of it, we threw the punch at that possession. And then you string them together, and there goes the first punch.
Anybody else? Thank you, Shaq.
Interesting comments there from SGA, the MVP. You know, he talked about energy, the lack of focus, the lack of sense of urgency in this game for OKC.
Yeah, and he kind of said, punching the fruit. No, Minnesota came out and did everything they were supposed to do. They were the aggressor. They hit shots. They got their fans into it. They superstar led them. Julius Randle need to have a game. Everything they needed to do in Game 3, they accomplished basically in that first quarter, and they carried that out throughout at least the first 3 quarters.
Stat of the day, and for all of you bettors out there, I'm pretty sure you didn't hit on this one. Terrence Shannon had 6 points for the playoffs. He had 15 today, and SGA had 14, the MVP of the league, the lowest that he's had all season. And so I expect OKC to respond, but also I expect Minnesota actually to be better. And I think Game 4 is going to be our best game of the actual series. And I like what I saw from Ant. I like how he was getting other guys involved, and I like how he was scoring the ball. But I like how multiple players were playing well. Alexander Walker giving them good minutes. DiVincenzo giving them good minutes. And so role players usually play better at home. That's what we saw from Minnesota also today.
Well, let me ask you this, because my neighbor Chris keeps texting me, okay? He's a Thunder fan. Not panicking, but he's kind of asking me, he says, in this situation here, does OKC, do they flush this one, or do you have to, you know, take what you saw from there, learn from it?
There's no flush in this one.
At all.
Okay. At all. This is conference finals. I mean, ain't no learning from it. We got to be better. Got to be different. We got to play with more force and led by your best player / MVP. Right. He's going to have to set the tone. He did that in those first 2 games in OKC. He's going to have to do this in Minnesota. Because you never know. Let's text him back, because if it goes back 2-2, you just never know.
Julius, just what did you sense different tonight, especially in the first quarter, that really allowed you guys to set the tone that you did and get on top of them?
I mean, obviously we got off to a great start. Didn't turn the ball over, limited their runs. But I just think we came with the right intensity on the defensive end and sustained it, you know, for pretty much a full 48 minutes.
And what did you think about the lift that TJ gave you coming in?
Huge for what he was able. We knew that we would need him this series, and you know, Coach obviously has a lot of trust in him. So for him to be ready for his moment and come in and give us the lift he did, he brought a lot of energy to the game, intensity. He was just a huge boost for our team today. So super happy for him.
Julius, huge bounce back game. Coach Finch said he talked to you earlier. Just wanted to kind of get your thoughts on, you know, the conversation you guys had, but then also what you saw out there tonight that was different from Game 2.
I mean, me and Finch been, you know, through all the ups and downs this season. He knows who I am. I know who he is. Me as a competitor, obviously I want to play and do anything I can to help our team win. And I know he trusts me to do that, you know, and I also know I trust him to do what's best for the team at all times. I know he doesn't have any ill intent. So, I mean, obviously I want to play, but for me, it's about the bounce back, you know, how you come back the next game. And I just wanted to come out aggressive. It's not really that they did anything different or myself. I just wanted to be aggressive and, you know, try to do that throughout all the game.
Julius, in Game 2, 6 points. Obviously, you got benched in that fourth quarter, but you bounced back in a big way here with 24 altogether. What can you say about your mindset coming into this game and how that was able to help you perform the way you did?
Yeah, I just wanted to be aggressive. I think that was just really what it was from the start. I just wanted to be aggressive.
Julius, I watched you pregame. You were all over the floor while you were listening to Young Jeezy. was that in the game plan? Was that somebody else's mix? Tell me. Walk me through that.
I mean, shout out Flight. We all, you know, will come with suggestions of what we want to listen to. Me, usually I'm like, but you know, and I think C. Hines won the future, but It was a Jeezy kind of day, and I actually liked that. I like that. I needed some Jeezy to get me going today, so yeah, it put me in the right mindset.
If I could follow up on that, what was the difference, I guess, musically between games 1 and 2 and then game 3? What was the difference in playlist, and what got you so lifted in game 3?
I just know I had to get it out the mud. So, he put on Jeezy, and it just got my mind right. So, yeah, I mean, it really don't matter. I just knew I had to come out with the right mindset and just be aggressive. Yeah, shout out Flight. He got me going.
Julius, you had a moment where you said, like, we're at home now. And what were the emotions running through your head? Because you looked really passionate and fired up.
I just really wanted to feed off the energy from the crowd. Obviously, I love being home, but it don't matter where we at. I'm going to try to approach the game the same way. But I mean, the crowd, the home energy, it had me going today. It gave me a lot of juice, and I just wanted to feed off of that energy. I know our team feeds off of it, so I was just having fun out there.